So I've been talking to a lot of people that have reached out to me right here on my YouTube channel, and these are people that are looking or considering to making a move to the state of Utah. And in this video, it's an answer directly to the responses that I've been getting where people are looking for some guidance in terms of using a map. So this video is for you. This is exactly what people are asking me they're looking for. And in this video, I'm going to give you a full map tour of the Wasatch Front and every place that you need to know and understand in Utah in order to do proper research. I know how frustrating it is to do research when you're looking to move to a new place, and all you find on Google is blog article after blog article, but in reality, what you really need is a guide that shows you on a map and shows you the different areas, and that's exactly what I'm doing here right now. Also, if you don't mind, I would love it if you drop a comment below and tell me where you're from, because it helps me understand what type of content that I need to create for you guys moving forward. I've had so many people reach out to me from all over the country and even the world. I would love to hear where you're from, so drop that in the comments below. And with that said, let's get started. And if you and I haven't met yet, my name is Steele, and I love helping people discover all things Utah, including Utah real estate. And as a licensed real estate agent here, I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. So if you have any questions whatsoever, hit me up in the comments below. You can also check my pinned comment to schedule a call with me or reach out to me through whatever platform that you choose. Regardless, I'd love to be your guide, and I'm here for you, so please reach out. And with that said, let's first dive right into this map. Okay, let's zoom right into the state of Utah and just get started, kick this thing off. You can see here, right here in Utah, there's a couple things I want you to know and understand. First and foremost is we have just about 3.5 million people who live in Utah, but most of the population lives right here along this corridor that we call the Wasatch Front. And you might want to know, why do we call it the Wasatch Front? Well, here's why. Here along this mountain range, we have right here along this ridgeline, a series of mountains that extend all the way down what we call the Wasatch Front. And anything to the west of this line is considered the Wasatch Front. Everything to the east of this line is considered the Wasatch Back. And with just over 3.5 million residents that live here, we have the vast majority of them living in these three metropolitan areas. Right here, we have the Salt Lake City metropolitan area. Up north, we have the Ogden-Clearfield metro area. And then down below, we have the fastest growing metro area in the state, and that is the Provo-Orem metro. So as you can see here, we have three metropolitan areas that are all interconnected up and down this Wasatch Range. And I personally think it's interesting to know that these Wasatch Mountains are the first mountain range that are officially considered part of the Rocky Mountains. So we have this mountain range here in the Wasatch Mountains, as well as this one here in the Uinta Mountains. The Uinta Mountains happen to be the tallest mountains in Utah, but between these two mountain ranges, we have the Rockies right here in our backyard, and that's pretty cool. And before we move on, I want to just cover a couple other things. We do have two other metropolitan areas in the state of Utah, and I wanted to point those out before we just talk about these three main metro areas. We do have another small metro area up here north in Logan, and then we also have another metropolitan area all the way down in the southern tip of Utah here, and the other metropolitan area we have here in Utah is in the southwestern corner here in St. George. Now, St. George is a completely different climate and is very close to Las Vegas, but this is another metropolitan area that's growing incredibly fast. In fact, this has been one of the fastest growing places in the entire country. So we want to keep our eye on this because it's a really fast growing spot. But to kick things off, let's get started right here in Salt Lake City and talk about the Salt Lake City Metro. So if we zoom in here to Salt Lake City, and if I surround this entire metropolitan area outlining Salt Lake County, this is exactly what makes up the Salt Lake City metropolitan area. And just to make this a little clearer, because it is difficult to read here, you can see that the outline of the county or the metro area runs right along the ridge tops of these Ochre Mountains out to the west, and then comes all the way around up along the Wasatch, and then it breaks back down, and then it cuts across the lake. So this right here is the Salt Lake City metropolitan area. And as you can see, the interesting thing is it's completely surrounded by mountains. Now, the big mountains are to the east, and the Ochre Mountains, even though they're pretty large, they're not as big as the Wasatch Mountains. And they almost come to a point right here at what we call the point of the mountain in the south. And right down here in the south end, this is where the transition is made to go down into Utah County and the Provo-Orem metro. And one other thing that's really interesting to me in Salt Lake City is how incredibly small the actual city is itself. Let's take a look. So if I go in here and I only outline outline exactly what is Salt Lake City, it's this really small area just in the northern tip of this county. And so geographically speaking, Salt Lake City is a very small city, but in essence, all of these other areas have effectively become all a part of Salt Lake City. It just so happens that back in the 1800s and the early 1900s, these areas were never annexed into the city, but instead they just became their own cities. And honestly, it creates a really unique vibe here in Salt Lake City and the surrounding areas. I kind of like it. I think it's pretty cool. All right, so the first thing I want to really point out here is the main highways that come in and through and around Salt Lake City. Right here we have our major freeway that runs north-south. Now this freeway is I-15. It runs all the way north from Canada, all the way down through the heart of the Wasatch Front, all the way through the Ogden-Clearfield Metro, the Salt Lake City Metro, as well as the Provo-Orem Metro. But you can see right here, it really segments right down the middle, or close to the middle, the Salt Lake Valley. This is our main corridor. This is our major freeway, but we have others as well. Let's point those out as well. Running east-west, we have I-80. This is the actual freeway that you would make it up to Park City, and it comes right here and connects with and runs parallel to I-15 before it heads out west. I-80 runs all the way from Chicago to San Francisco and then picks up again in around Pennsylvania and goes all the way to New York City. And so with these two freeways that intersect right here in the heart of Salt Lake City, this is why Salt Lake City has been given the nickname the Crossroads of the West, and you can see why. Okay, going back to the map, there are other freeways as well. We have a belt route here in 215. The belt route runs all the way around and carries people around the perimeter of the city. And then we have another, let me zoom in here, but then we have other freeways. We have right here another freeway that connects with I-15. Now this is SR 201, State Road 201, and it connects over here to I-80 and I-15. And then we have two more things that are worth talking about in terms of transportation. And something else I really want to point out in case you do live here or you're moving here is the proximity of the airport to the city. It is phenomenal. This is our brand new airport that was just reconstructed. As you can see, it's super close to downtown Salt Lake City, but I wanted to point out the major highways that can actually access and get to the freeway, because I feel like this is one of the selling points of Salt Lake City, is having the proximity of a beautiful brand new airport right next to the city, right next to the ski slopes, right next to all of these canyons, outdoor activities, as well as all of the population that lives here. So as you can see right here, we have the airport. Well, connected right here from the airport is a highway, and you can't see it very well, but this is actually called Bangerter Highway, and it runs the length of the entire valley and comes down here and connects right here in Draper to I-15. Now, this is a highway that throughout my childhood, this was kind of a poorly planned highway to begin with, but in the more recent decades has been planned out and is being currently built out to be a full freeway, and it's honestly on its home stretch. There's only a few interchanges left. In fact, they just broke ground on a couple more interchanges to convert this to a freeway. So what does that mean for you? For example, for me, I live right here in Daybreak, down here in South Jordan. For me to hop onto Bangerter Highway, which is now almost a complete freeway, and get all the way up to here to the airport, it takes me 15, maybe 18 minutes. If there's bad traffic, it might take me 20. It's a really easy drive to get all the way from one side of the valley up to the airport. Okay, the last main artery that I want to talk about here is, as you can see, the valley is nearly full, other than we do have some areas out west. And so as you can see here, this is where all of the land is on the west side of the valley. This is where all the growth is happening. In fact, 2 of the 10 fastest growing cities in Utah are downtown Salt Lake City, as well as South Jordan, which encompasses the master planned community of Daybreak. So I just want to talk briefly about Daybreak. So Daybreak is the fastest and largest master planned community in the state. And as you can see, it sits right here on the west side of South Jordan. This is actually where I personally live, and I love it here. And we're seeing most people that move here from out of state looking in and around Daybreak. And there's so much to love about Daybreak, including the proximity to the airport, the proximity to the city, and still getting all of the new amenities that come along with living in a really cool community like Daybreak. But if I zoom out just a little bit, there's one thing I wanted to explain here about the west side of the valley, including passing right through the heart of Daybreak, and that involves the new freeway that's currently being built that will connect all the way up north from I-80 and run the length of the valley all the way down and around, and it's going to connect all the way down into Saratoga Springs and Lehigh and connect with I-15. Now, the reason why that's important is it connects this county, which is the fastest growing county to the south of us in Utah County, to Salt Lake City and the airport without all of it having to go right here through I-15. So instead of having one major artery running through this little point of the mountain, we now will have two. And it takes people all the way up the west side and almost directly to the airport. So that's pretty cool. In fact, this freeway passes right through the heart of Daybreak right here, and it's precisely right here in this spot that is considered what is being called downtown Daybreak, This is going to be the new home for the baseball stadium and all of the office buildings and many, many restaurants. This is going to be a booming little downtown area outside of downtown Salt Lake City that I think is going to attract not only people to Daybreak, but all of the new communities and new developments that have been announced that are coming up right next to Daybreak. So that's pretty cool. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about Salt Lake County specifically is I want to talk about what you can expect within the different areas of Salt Lake County. So if we take this county and we divide it in half from north to south, right along the I-15 corridor. So we have the east side over here to my right and the west side over to the left. And then if we take another line and we draw it right down where the belt route comes on the south end of Murray here, if we kind of put that X across the Salt Lake Valley, this is what we affectionately consider the 4 quadrants of Salt Lake County. So here we have the northeast, the northwest, the southwest, and the southeast. And as we look at these 4 different quadrants within the valley, it really will tell the story about where you might want to live. And I just want to take a few moments to help you understand what you might expect in these 4 different quadrants, because it really makes a difference as to what you're looking for in a home. So up here in the northeast quadrant of the valley, these are the homes and the neighborhoods that are really right in the heart of Salt Lake City. I love this area, and this is a really super desirable area. And if I zoom in here, I can show you these are some of the most desirable neighborhoods in all of Salt Lake City. If we zoom right down in here to one of these streets, let's just take a quick peek at one of these streets here and just give you a hint or give you an idea as to what to expect if you are moving to this area. This is kind of what you could probably expect in downtown or near downtown Salt Lake City in some of these older neighborhoods. And for me personally, I love these older homes. I think these older homes have so much charm to them that I think a lot of people appreciate the older properties that are prevalent down here in Salt Lake City. I personally love them. You will pay dearly for these homes. They are not cheap. They are pretty pricey, but honestly, you can't get the same feel and the same vibe when you live out in the suburbs. So these older homes in this older part of the city is certainly a really well-desired area. Some of the neighborhoods that fit this description are the greater avenues, sit right up here to the north part of the city up here. So as we look in Salt Lake City here, there are some neighborhoods that I want to point out. First and foremost, I want to point out the avenues up here. This is affectionately called the avenues, as these streets traverse across the hillside and are some of the oldest homes in the city. You'll see a ton of Victorian homes and really cool, really old homes, many of which have been restored, and a lot of these homes are actually in areas that are considered historic and they have to be held to a certain standard. Another area worth talking about is one of the most popular subdivisions in Salt Lake City, and that is Sugar House. Sugar House is a booming area. It has been for years. You will find smaller homes down in Sugar House that are kind of built in between the 1920s, 1940s, and so on. And then one of my personal favorite neighborhoods is the Harvard-Yale area right over here. I love this area. And there's little pockets of other neighborhoods throughout the city as well. Here we have Liberty Wells. Liberty Wells is a really cool spot as well. Not quite the same as Harvard-Yale, but other neighborhoods that are incredibly popular is Mill Creek right here. You've got this little pocket of Canyon Rim. Holiday is a phenomenal area down here. There's so many cool spots in the northeast quadrant of the Salt Lake Valley, and the homes typically are older the further north you go, and not quite as old the further south you go. Okay, moving on to the southeast quadrant down here in Sandy and Draper. This is a really good spot. These homes are not as old. Most of these homes are built in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and maybe even a lot of pockets of newer homes as well. Especially in Draper, there's a lot of newer homes in Draper. And I recently did a video highlighting the 10 best suburbs in and around Salt Lake City within about a 35-minute drive of downtown Salt Lake City. And Sandy and Draper are both on that list. Those are great suburbs if you want access to the mountains, the ski resorts, the Cottonwood Canyons. You have the best skiing you can possibly imagine right up here in these 2 Cottonwood Canyons. Right here you have Solitude and Brighton, and over here you have Alta and Snowbird. The best skiing in North America, guys, it's right here. This is the best skiing. It's way better than the Park City side, and these ski resorts get a lot more snow. So I think that that's the biggest and best part about living in Sandy and Draper. You have access to those canyons, but also quick access into downtown as well as the airport. Now, moving on to the northwest quadrant up here. The northwest quadrant is more of an industrial area, and you have cities like West Valley City here and Magna right here and Kearns. These are older areas, not as old as downtown Salt Lake City, but these are the less desirable communities. They're the less valuable communities, and the homes over here are definitely going to be some of the smaller homes that you'll find throughout the Salt Lake Valley, as well as the more affordable neighborhoods as well. So it's worth noting. And honestly, with as much land as you can see out here on the west side of West Valley and Magna, this land is probably primed for some future development, and I've noticed incredible value increases in the real estate throughout these areas. In fact, as I go back over the last 5 years data and look at which areas in this city have appreciated the most on a percentage basis in terms of real estate, it's kind of interesting to note, but the best and fastest growing areas are these areas here in Rose Park and Glendale and Poplar Grove. These little pockets, including out here in West Valley, these have grown and appreciated in price more than anywhere in the state. And it's because they were so incredibly affordable before, and now things are catching up and people want to live close to Salt Lake City. So these areas, call it gentrification, call it redevelopment, whatever you want, these areas are up and coming and they're changing right in front of our eyes. Okay, and there's one more thing I wanted to make note of. Up here in between the northwest and the northeast quadrant, right here near downtown Salt Lake City, lies an area right here that is called the Power District. Now, the Power District is all over the news right now because Salt Lake City, specifically the Miller Group, is trying to get a Major League Baseball team right here to the Beehive State. And Ryan Smith, the current owner of the Utah Jazz, who bought the Jazz from the Miller Group, is trying to attract an NHL team. So Utah sports are on fire right now. We're trying to get both a Major League Baseball team and a National Hockey team right here to the Beehive State. I couldn't be more excited, and I just wanted to point that out. But these are the areas that are being talked about, and as you can see right here, we have downtown Salt Lake City over here, we have the airport right here, and this new area of the ballpark district or the entertainment district is right in between this area that we call the Power District. And it's this land specifically in this section of area that is being proposed and talked about to be developed into our entertainment district with both a baseball park as well as a hockey stadium potentially. And I think it's pretty cool because as a Utah native, it's really cool to see these things come to our state. This is a lot of land that is currently owned by the power company. In fact, in the renderings for the new baseball park, they've actually kept these 3 smokestacks as a backdrop. As you look out from home plate, you see these smokestacks and you see the Wasatch Mountains behind. What a great backdrop for a baseball stadium. I really hope we get it. And another really cool thing that I love about this spot in terms of a ballpark is it happens to have the Jordan River running right through this area. So you can actually have a river that runs right through the new entertainment and ballpark district. So this is really kind of cool. And honestly, it's developments like this, including all of the new stuff that's being built in some of this free land, that's really driving the growth and redevelopment and gentrification of these areas. And moving on, I want to talk about the very last area. Let me draw back up here on the map and just make sure that we have this on the map. So back again, we have the quadrants. And as we have the quadrants, our last area is the southwest quadrant. The southwest quadrant during my adult lifetime has by far been the fastest growing area in the state of Utah. This area specifically right here in Harriman and Daybreak, as well as Rosecrest, which is part of Harriman. These areas out here in the southwest corner have been some of the fastest growing places in the state. And currently Daybreak is one of the fastest growing communities in the state of Utah as well, and is the largest master planned community. So if you're thinking of moving to the Salt Lake City area and you don't want to be downtown, the southwest quadrant not only has really valuable real estate, there's really good opportunities out here as well, but the homes are beautiful, they're nice, they're bigger. Typically you're going to have nicer homes over here than you will to the north. And even though there's probably something for everybody here in the Salt Lake Valley, there's not enough room to continue growing indefinitely. And with that limited growth, we have to think about where's the future growth going to happen. And as I have dived into all of the population forecasts and figured out where the population forecasts are coming, it all spreads out west to this other valley out here in Tooele and Grantsville. So these areas out here are going to be incredibly fast growing in the decades to come. But for now, we still have room here in the Salt Lake Valley to continue growing. And personally, I've lived in Salt Lake County almost my entire life, and I absolutely love living here because I get to be so close to the city, so close to the canyons, Park City, the airport, all of these things. It's so close. So if you're considering moving to or close to Salt Lake City, drop a comment below and let me know what you'd like to see and what areas are most interesting to you, because as you guys give me those comments and that feedback, it helps me to go create the videos that I need to create to show you guys these different areas. And as spring and summer roll around, I will be in my vehicle with my camera touring all of these different cities and these different new developments all over the Salt Lake Valley, as well as south into Utah County and up north. And honestly, it's your comments that help drive the content that I put right here on the channel, so drop me that comment. Okay, let's go down to Utah County. And like I said before, this is the county that's the fastest growing county in the state. And 66%, exactly 2/3 of the new construction is actually happening right down here in Utah County. So let me just highlight exactly what is Utah County, because I think it makes it nice and easy to see on screen. But if I type in Utah County, it will give me an outline of the entire county. Now that might be a little difficult to read, but you can see that red outline. It's a big county. A lot of that land is up in the mountains, but there's still a lot of land that's yet to be developed. And as we zoom in here, you can see Utah County is kind of crazy because it's got this giant freshwater lake right in the middle of the valley. And so the main corridor of I-15 runs north-south through this population area, and that's it. That's all they've got. There's no other freeway systems here, and it's growing tremendously. This area will have over 1 million people here very soon. And most of the growth that we're seeing in Utah County is down here in the south end down here, as well as the north end. Now, I recently did a video highlighting the 10 fastest growing cities in Utah. So as I zoom right here to the north end of Utah County, this actually accounts for 4 of the fastest growing cities in all of Utah, and that's American Fork, Lehi, and of course Saratoga Springs here, and Eagle Mountain out here. These are 4 of the hottest areas in Utah, and for most of my clients that are considering moving to Utah, they're looking at these 4 areas here, and for most of my clients that are reaching out to me here through my YouTube channel are looking to move right here to the north end of Utah County or the southwest portion of Salt Lake County in South Jordan, Harriman, and Daybreak. These are the hottest areas in the entire state. So with that said, let's talk about some of the challenges of these areas, but let me just zoom in really quick. If I zoom in right here, this is the one area that we have to pass from Utah County into Salt Lake County. And as we can see here, here's the I-15 that runs north-south from Utah County into Salt Lake County. And this tends to be a little bit of a bottleneck area. They have improved this dramatically, and it's not that bad at all anymore. This is all new freeway right here. And with this region here in Lehi, and I'm pointing this out specifically, but this is the region that we consider Silicon Slopes because of all the tech companies, from Adobe to Oracle to the new Texas Instruments plant that's being expanded over here to the east. But this area is incredibly fast growing and has driven so many restaurants and entertainment and different things, dealerships and all sorts of different things right here to this area. And if I zoom out just a little bit, there's another massive development about to happen right here in Draper. This is the former site of the Utah State Prison, which has now been moved up north west of the airport. But this site is going to be the largest single development in Utah's history. So combined with the growth that's happening in the north end of Utah County, as well as the development at the point up here in Draper, this area is becoming crucial. So what are the challenges of living down here in the north end of Utah County? Well, personally, I think that the challenges are worth the headaches because the solutions are on their way. So as we come out here and we zoom out just a little bit, and we see the vast majority of the growth is happening over here in Eagle Mountain, Saratoga Springs, and Lehi. And with that comes traffic. So as these people try to get over to I-15 to go north or south to work, it's become a bottleneck. But there's a solution and it's already underway. So as we zoom out just a little bit, you can see right here, this is the new freeway that's being built in Salt Lake County. This is the Mountain View corridor, and it currently ends right here. But this is going to continue all the way down into Saratoga Springs. And I'm probably not following this exactly where it goes, but it's coming down into Saratoga Springs, and that's going to relieve a lot of traffic. But more importantly, it will be connecting over to I-15 right here with an interchange, which is going to create such a great solution for people that need to get north up into Salt Lake County, now having 2 major freeways that do that for us. So I'm excited for this to come to fruition because if you live in Saratoga Springs, you deserve it. Everything in Saratoga Springs it's beautiful. Everything's new. It just feels great. And I think this is going to overcome a lot of those challenges. And it's going to cut down the time that it takes to get to the airport and the city more than likely. So we talked about the north end of Utah County, which is growing tremendously fast, but we want to make sure we talk just a little bit about the south end here. I love this area down here south of Utah County. I love some of these areas down here. In fact, Mapleton right here, these are some of the most beautiful homes you'll see in the entire state of Utah. They have large lots, beautiful multi-million-dollar properties. This area right here is super expensive. Another one of my favorite areas is up here in Woodland Hills and Salem. These areas right here have beautiful homes. In fact, if you were to drive through those neighborhoods, you would be blown away, to be honest with you. You'd be shocked. But there's still a lot of growth happening here in Spanish Fork, Payson, all the way down south into Santaquin. There's a lot of land down here. This is one of the fastest growing areas in the state. It just did not happen to make the top 10 cities in the state in terms of growth, but it's worth noting. Okay, let's zoom back out now. So now we've covered Utah County to the south of Salt Lake City. We've also covered Salt Lake City and its metropolitan area. So let's buzz right up north and talk about the remaining section, which is Davis and Weber counties. And this is the last metropolitan area that we want to talk about. So here we have this other point of the mountain up north that kind of bottlenecks from Salt Lake County into Davis County. And you can see it's a tight corridor, and it extends up into North Salt Lake and Bountiful and up up northward into Farmington, Layton, and Clearfield. This little area right here can get really bottlenecked, especially during rush hour traffic. It's worth knowing that if you live anywhere up here north and you're commuting to Salt Lake City, you're likely going to run into some worse traffic right here than probably anywhere along the Wasatch Front, in my opinion. And so that's worth understanding. But if that commute is not crucial in your daily life, it's not going to be a problem to live up further north. And another thing worth noting, not only here in Davis and Weber counties, but along the Wasatch Front in general, you're typically going to find older homes closer to the mountains on the east, and the newer homes are going to be built out to the west. And that's simply because of necessity. But if we come up north into Weber County and past Davis County, there's another pocket of cities here that are the fastest growing cities in the state. We talked about the 4 in Utah County. We talked about the 2 in Salt Lake County in Salt Lake City and South Jordan, which encompasses Daybreak. Now we have 4 more, and those 4 are right here up north in Weber County. And those cities consist of this city here, Clearfield, Syracuse, West Point, as well as just a little bit further to the north in West Haven. Now, there's so much farmland out here and open land, and this is driving a lot of the growth because it's naturally where we have the ability to build. But another thing I wanted to point out is they're building another highway or freeway that's going to cut right here through Syracuse. And just like down in Salt Lake County and other developments in the state, this is going to help tremendously with traffic, and this highway is coming right through here. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, they just opened this road and it's already being used. So this is pretty cool to see this growth because, again, the north-south travel along these freeway systems becomes difficult as they bottleneck through certain areas. And up here next to Clearfield, we have this massive Air Force base in Hill Air Force Base. This is a pretty cool spot. So if you live in this area, you've got to be accustomed to jets flying overhead because this is an Air Force base and you're going to hear those jets. Okay, so we talked about Weber County, and obviously Ogden sits up here to the north. This is the largest city within this region. There are some beautiful mountains as a backdrop to the city, as well as some awesome ski resorts up here in the mountains. So you get the same benefits living up here in the north as you do down in Salt Lake County. Probably these ski resorts aren't typically as busy as the ones to the south in the Cottonwood Canyons, for example, but these are amazing ski resorts as well. So please, I want you to drop me a comment below and tell me which cities or areas interest you most so that I can create content better for you. And as we zoom back out on the map, we can see here we have the Salt Lake City Metro, we have the Ogden Clearfield Metro, and down here to the south we have the Provo-Orem metropolitan area, and just here to the east of Salt Lake City we have Park City. We did not talk about Park City in this video, but I do have a video coming for Park City. It's one of the greatest places in the West. I love Park City. It's an incredible place. Stay tuned. If you want to learn more about what life is like living here in Utah, but more importantly, if I can answer your specific questions, please hit me up. You can find my contact information down in the description below or in the pinned comment right here on this video. And I'm going to drop some more videos here coming up. Please give me some comments and let me know what types of videos you'd like me to create, as well as which areas you'd like to see, because it will definitely give me guidance and direction as to where I take this channel, because I love serving you. And as always, I hope to be your real estate resource of choice. Check out this next video and playlist if you want to learn more about living in Utah. Thanks.